Most people have a passion. It could be painting or paintball, climbing or swimming, or simply going to the gym once a week. Most people, their passion is their driving force. It gets them out of bed and through to the weekend. But what if your passion wasn't safe? Would you risk your life to follow your passion? This is a passion to die for. The street racing community is hidden, just out of sight, and very, very rarely appears in the mainstream media. Most people only know street racing through the movies, such as the Fast and the Furious franchise, completely unaware that throughout both the UK and the US, street racing is incredibly prominent, and yet very rarely reported on. While you may be aware that street racing is illegal, what you may not be aware of is that street cruising is also illegal. Street cruising is when a group of people drive up and down a street or through a neighbourhood in a convoy formation, typically to show off their cars. They drive slowly and have been known to take up both sides of the road. You may also be unaware that riding unlicensed power vehicles is also illegal, such as hoverboards, mini motos, or even motorised scooters. The same also applies to trial bikes and quad bikes unless equipped with a number plate. I consider the earliest known example of street racing to have occurred in the US during the Prohibition, the 1920s to 1933. This is when alcohol was banned. Bootleggers would transport alcohol in hidden compartments of their cars. Bootleggers were named as such due to them hiding alcohol in their boots, across states and county lines, smuggling it from the breweries to the speakeasies. These vehicles would be high-powered, with plenty of space to hide alcohol to avoid it being seized. These cars had to be fast so that they could avoid the police and transport as much alcohol as possible. But there was more to it than this. When they weren't illegally transporting alcohol, they would compete against other bootleggers to see whose car was the fastest, and they would do this by driving around a large circular track. You guessed it. This was the origin of NASCAR. But NASCAR isn't solely to blame for street racing. I believe one group went on to inspire street racing on an international scale. A group that has since faded into legend, but whose legacy can still be felt far and wide. The Midnight Club. The legendary Japanese Midnight Club was a highly secretive gang of street racers. They were active between 1987 and 1999. While they may have been disbanded now for more than 20 years, their legend has been long-lasting. The group strictly follows its own rules. A few rules of their club were that they were unable to give out last names and occupations. To join, you'd have to be an apprentice and you'd have to attend every single meeting to keep your membership status, and then you would go on to become a fully fledged midnight racer. Roughly only 10% of members would go on to become full members, so it was a very exclusive group. Each member had the requirement that their car had to be able to reach more than 160 miles an hour, and even though they could manage that, they would still be on the slower end, as records of the Midnight Club proved that they sustained racing speeds of more than 190 miles an hour. The Midnight Club commonly used JDM cars. JDM are Japanese domestic market vehicles. Popular choices were the Nissan 300 ZX, the Nissan GTR, the Toyota Supra, and the Mazda RX-7. Another reason they went down in legend was due to their strict code of morals and ethics, and when, in 1999, a crash caused by the Midnight Club racing against a biker gang resulted in the deaths of 2 members of the biker gang and hospitalizing 8 people, 2 Midnight Club members and 6 innocent civilians, the club immediately shut down, and most members' cars were either hidden away or destroyed. 2 years after the Midnight Club was disbanded, The Fast and the Furious was released. While not directly stated to having been inspired by the Midnight Club, the movie has a lot of similar ties, such as the street racers having a rivalry with the biker gang. Similar cars to the Midnight Club also appear in the movie, such as the Nissan GTR and Toyota Supra. We also see a Mazda RX-7. The Fast and the Furious would go on to define street racing, giving exposure to the JDM industry and the JDM category of cars. There are now more than 10 movies in the franchise, with more on the way. But with these movies advertising such an exuberant lifestyle to the public, has it normalized this kind of antisocial behaviour? Well, at the very least, they have advertised to us that these expensive cars will make us happy. We see these characters living an amazing lifestyle, and a key part of their life is their cars. We now live in a world where everything is online, and around 720,000 hours of content is uploaded to YouTube a day. TikTok has 1.2 billion active users. Today, you can't get away from the cameras, and the illegal street racing scene is no different. Hidden in YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok are pages that promote illegal street racing. While typically violating the user agreement with these companies, they don't seem to care. Instead, they seem intent on advertising this illegal activity to the general public. It's become a competition. Who can be the most reckless? Videos show them weaving in and out of traffic, provoking police chases and speeding through town centres. We can see in this video here that this driver is hitting 80 miles an hour through a 30-mile-an-hour zone in a town centre. While it may be nighttime, that doesn't mean that someone may not stumble out into the road, or more likely, the driver losing control of the car. However, as this violates the user agreements, these platforms do attempt to take these pages down. But for each one that is taken down, 2 more will rise up to fill its place. Recently, one of the larger pages, Smoky Motors, has been taken down, showing that they are actively trying to combat these media pages. However, like I said, 2 more will just fill the place. The dangerous side of these pages does not focus on street racing though. It focuses on attacking the police. And while this is a very small part of these pages, we can't deny that it doesn't exist. And this is where it gets especially dangerous. We can truly see a lack of care from these individuals.
Hey, wet that while you drip!
They don't care about the members of the public, or even the officers whose job it is to protect them.
Oh shit! He's sick! He's sick!
While legitimate groups exist, such as Head Turners Northwest, who are a car enthusiast group who meet up and talk about a shared passion, they also do track days together. This is their advertising for the next track day on their Instagram. Track days are events where normal people can drive their car to a racetrack, and either drive their own car around the racetrack, or borrow a car and drive that around the racetrack. You can commonly borrow Ferraris, Lamborghinis, or other supercars or highly powered vehicles. You normally get your own free pick in what car you would like to drive. So, if racing is available in a safe environment where paramedics and the fire brigade are on standby, why are these track days and racing experiences not eradicating street racing altogether? Well, track days tend to be expensive. The track day itself will commonly set a person back more than £100. You also have to factor in the commute to the racetrack, and we can see why it's not always viable, especially when there are only 16 racetracks in the UK, meaning it could be a few hours of travel even to your local racetrack.
I wanted to personally find out about a street racer's opinion, so I managed to get in contact with one and arranged an interview.
I've been street racing since I was 15, 6 years. I came to England 6 years ago, and I had some friends over here, so they introduced me to some other people who got me into street racing, and then since then I've just been street racing, hanging out with the same people. So street racing is definitely becoming more common, especially now. When I first started, it was only 2-3 of us. Now we have like a 6 to 8 people I hang out with, and it's like a group, it's like a team, you could say. We all work together and we help each other out. I street race because I like cars. It's been a passion of mine since I was young, and then once I came here, my friends introduced me to it, so now I'm really into it. My friends do it as well, so it's like a social activity. Street racing is dangerous if you don't know how to drive, but I'm good at it, so it's not for me. I don't think I'll ever hurt somebody. Like I said before, I'm a very good driver. I don't plan on stopping street racing unless the police catch me, and that's not gonna happen, because I'm too good. I've been arrested for other things, but not street racing, because they could never catch me, obviously. The police will never be able to catch me, or my friends. A lot of people do it, they never catch them, so I think I'll be fine. Street racing has been great for me. A lot of my friends do it. We meet up every day, we go to car parks, and you could say it's like a training. We practice there, we drift, we do everything, and it's just been a great activity for me, and I enjoy it. It's It's the best thing that happened to me.
So, with all the street racing, the roads must be becoming more dangerous, right? Well, in 2019, we had 1,390 deaths on the road, which was actually down 11% the year before, and down 22% on a rolling 3-year average from 2017 to 2019. In 2019, 24,530 people were killed or seriously injured, which was down 6% on the year before, and again, down a 22% on a rolling 3-year average. In 2019, there were 119,850 injuries of all severities, which was down 9% the year before, and down 28% over a rolling 3-year average. So, if the accident and death rate is going down, what's the problem? The problem is street racing is still happening and is still being hidden from us. In the US, COVID-19's and national lockdowns meant the roads were free. Street racers took full advantage. In New York, there were 5 times more complaints related to street racing in 6 months compared to the year before. Dallas police reported 8,441 calls relating to street racing in 2020, nearly twice of what was recorded in 2019. Atlanta Police Department says that the number of calls related to street racing has gone from 36 in February to 568 in October. On New Year's Eve in Jacksonville, Mississippi, motorists blocked the highway for an hour while performing stunts and donuts in the middle of the street. And this isn't all harmless. On the 30th of September, 18-year-old Angie McCain and a 3-month-old Caden Good were killed by Shamir Floyd, who was driving a high-performance BMW at speeds exceeding 120 miles an hour. While on the surface, street racing may appear fun, it often has unfortunate endings. And people who are not even involved often pay the price for others' recklessness.
I wanted to learn about the personal effect street racing has had on people. I managed to get in contact with George. One of his friends had previously died in a car accident.
It was a collision on a country road. 3 people in a Volkswagen Polo and a Land Rover had a collision. The 3 people in that Polo all died. Against the Land Rover, they had no chance. The guy who, I feel bad for him obviously now, at the time I was like, he should go to jail, I didn't even care if it was his fault or not. I was like, he's killed 3 young lads in the prime of their life, all of them fucking, like, lovable kids who could not have been nicer to anyone in the world, and then they were all just taken in an instant, all 3 of them gone. As soon as people walked in the classroom, everyone was already aware. I feel like most people had sort of mentioned it and said, did anyone hear about what happened? And I didn't say a word, and then the tutors came in. I didn't know how to react. It's heartbreaking is obviously the easy word to say, but it was just sort of very jarring. I think it was sort of very hard to get over that day. I think it was sort of obviously we knew something had happened and other people had been involved. It was sort of really worrying to know that some people, quite a few people just didn't turn up that day, so it was really hard to figure out who was okay, was anyone going to be okay. Obviously it was his best mate who was really in a bad way, and I was really struggling to contact him to see if he was alright, and it really sort of bothered me to know like other people weren't wanting to talk to him. The thing was as well, the reason why he was such a lively personality was he was obviously, everyone made fun of him for being this short-haired ginger guy, but he lived up to it and he was really a lovable character. Occasionally, like, you see someone with like the same hairstyle walk past you, think, oh shit, is that him? And it's not, it's like, oh. And it sort of brings it back. And it's weird like that, because you don't expect it still to sort of have those reverberations years later, but it still happens. I'll see someone walking down the street and think, oh, is that him?